Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the May 5th, 2020 virtual Village Council meeting. Pursuant to Executive Order number 20-69 issued by Governor DeSantis, municipalities may conduct meetings of their governing boards without having a quorum of its members present physically or at any specific location, and utilizing communications media technology such as telephonic or video conferencing as provided by Section 120.54 sub 5 sub B2 of the Florida statutes. This meeting will be opened with a moment of silence. We will have our moment of silence. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, can you call the roll?
Village Attorney Therafan.
Present.
Village Manager Benton.
Here.
Councilman Meltz.
Here.
Councilman Lafredo.
Here.
Councilman Brady.
Here.
Vice Mayor Birch.
Present.
Mayor Wagger.
Here.
We have quorum.
Thank you. With regard to public comments, to provide a reasonable opportunity for public comments, the village has encouraged the public to submit written comments prior to the start of the meeting using the village's new e-comment function. The village clerk will read e-comments into the record. Please note, as the presiding officer, I may exercise authority to limit the length of time of public comments in the interest of time and to preserve decorum and order. Please note, public comments is not a Q&A forum. Therefore, if you have any questions, please contact individual council members and or staff prior to or after the meeting. However, all comments will be included as part of the official record for both virtual meetings and to be considered by Village Council prior to any action being taken. All interested parties are required to abide by all state, county, and local emergency orders and urged to remain at home and practice social distancing. If the proposition is being continued or rescheduled, the opportunity to be heard may be at such later date before the Village Council takes action on such proposition. Madam Clerk, approval of minutes.
Madam Mayor, I believe it's e-public comments.
I'm sorry. E-public comments is next, correct.
First comment is from Andres and Catherine Fonseca at 29 Northeast 105th Street. We have lived here for approximately 33 years. Speeding through Miami Shores continues to be a concern for so many of the residents who are grateful to live here. Not only speeding by the locals, but by delivery systems. They speed as if there are no children playing in the area. The recently installed circle at Barry University has not slowed down the traffic on North Miami Avenue or on any of the streets south of the university. The children, families, pedestrians, and dog walkers deserve better. We are requesting that the council look at the different long and short-term solutions and address this problem as soon as possible. Thank you for your attention in this matter. Next speaker is anonymous. The speeding through Miami Shores continues to be a concern for us. We live on the corner of 105th Street and North Miami Avenue. And for 2 years living in our home, we have watched cars speed up and down North Miami Avenue at 50, 60 plus miles per hour. The speeding happens at all hours of the day and night. Recently, a traffic circle was installed at Barry University on North Miami Avenue. Next speaker is Nicole Headmark. Please do something about speeding on North Miami Avenue. Despite the installation of the traffic circle near Barry, we continue to experience traffic issues. People speed up and down Miami Avenue, north and south of 103rd Street. We live near Miami Avenue on Northeast 105th Street, and we, our neighbors, and our families frequently walk and bike through the neighborhood. We still do not feel safe, especially as people speed up to merge to a single lane on northbound Miami Avenue and 105th Street. Please investigate options for resolving this, and in the meantime, provide additional police enforcement of speeding and merging laws in this area. Nicole Headmark, 40 Northeast 105th Street. Next speaker is Jessica Pluhar. Good evening, council members. Thank you for your service even during this COVID pandemic. The speeding through Miami Shores continues to be a concern for us. We live on the corner of 105th Street and North Miami Avenue, and for 2 years living in our home, we have watched cars speed up and down North Miami Avenue at 50, 60 plus per hour. The speeding happens at all hours of the day and night. Recently, a traffic circle was installed at Barry University on North Miami Avenue, but this traffic circle has not slowed down the traffic south of Barry University within our village. We rarely see police patrolling and regulating the 30 miles per hour speed zone, and we hope more can be done about this. We are raising this concern because there are many families with children that live along this avenue. There are many pedestrians, cyclists, and people walking their dogs. We are requesting, number one, this issue be seriously looked into. Number two, police patrolling be increased. Number three, a long-term and more permanent solution be found, such as additional stoplights or stop signs. Thank you for your attention. Jessica Puhart, 5 Northeast 105th Street. Next speaker is from Noah Kleiner. Dear Mayor Wagger, there should be no more pollution and there should be no more littering. There should be more Teslas to help the environment. I will pick up trash on the beach and recycle too. If we do not help the earth now, all the living things will die. From Noah Kleiner. This concludes public comments, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Thank you.
5A, approval of the April 21st, 2020 virtual Village Council meeting minutes.
Would move that we approve the minutes.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Item 6.
Item 6A, an ordinance of the Village Council of Miami Shores Village, Florida, amending the Miami Shores Village Code, Chapter 15, Article 2, by revising Village Code Section 15-13, providing for definition, by revising Village Code Section 15-14, providing for the prohibition of single-use plastic water bottles in any village facility or on village property, by revising the Village Code Section 15-15, providing for enforcement and penalties, by revising Section 15-16, providing for rights of violators, payment of fines, appeal, failure to pay civil fine or to appeal, and providing for an effective date. This item is sponsored by Councilman Jonathan Meltz.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Councilman Meltz?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As you recall from last meeting, Mr. Serafin was making a couple minor additions, and if you haven't had a chance to review, I'm sure he could bring those to your attention. But I'm not going to reiterate it feels like for 7 meetings already of giving words in favor of this. You can look back at the record if you need to know how I believe. But if there's any questions, Mr. Serafin, would you be so kind?
Do any of the council members have any questions? Would Mr. Serafin just like to quickly outline the changes that were made, please?
You saw a series of changes on first reading. Mostly they were definitional and designed to point out that certain water bottles are indeed recyclable and strengthen the concept that this is about pollution and not necessarily recycling. Since first reading, I've had additional productive comments with industry representatives who have registered as lobbyists, some of whom I understand may have reached out to speak to some of you. The 2 new changes that have been proposed between first and second reading are very simple. First, it was called to our attention that the language that we have in the existing ordinance theoretically would prohibit the transport of these water bottles on the streets through the village. So we added language to make it clear that distribution or transportation of single-use plastic water bottles over any street, Miami Shores Village, in the ordinary course of business is not prohibited. We also clarified that you can, because we have a prohibition on using it on village property, we soften that somewhat to say you can use a water bottle on a village sidewalk, provided that it's not adjacent to a village facility or a village located event. You know, if we're having a village sponsored event in one of our parks and you're on the sidewalk, we'd prefer that you not be drinking from the water bottles. But if you're just walking down your street on your sidewalk, it's a different story. The other thing is, with a nod towards the fact that the coronavirus has seriously hampered the village's ability to get out and do the contemplated educational program, letting people know about these restrictions. We've restarted the 120-day clock before we start writing tickets. We're still going to tell people and give them warnings, but we're going to give them a little more time to get up to speed. And that's basically it.
Very good. Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the council? Vice Mayor Birch.
On number three, item number 3, when we're trying to restate things, sometimes things get a little mixed up. 3C, where the village manager finds that relying on single-use plastic water is bottles.
Right.
Okay, I think the word is needs to get out of there.
Actually, it goes after bottles instead of in front.
Oh, okay.
That's a good catch. I thank you for that.
Okay.
And that was, for example, in the case of a hurricane, we give Tom the ability to say, yeah, people need plastic bottled water.
Very good.
Thanks.
Good catch. Isabella, will you make that correction, please?
So noted.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay. So all in favor?
Someone needs to
Do
make
I have
a
a
motion.
motion? Do I have a motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we approve the ordinance on second reading.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Mayor, if I could have a roll call vote.
Roll call vote. Okay.
Give me just, set this up. Give me just a moment here. Okay. Councilman Lafredo.
Aye.
Councilman Meltz.
Yes.
Councilman Brady.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Birch.
Yes.
Crystal Wagger. Mayor Crystal Wagger.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you.
Item 7A, resolution of the Village Council of Miami Shores Village, Florida, establishing a rent forgiveness rebate program, setting an effective date, and setting a sunset date. This item is sponsored by Vice Mayor Alice Birch.
Vice Mayor Birch, would you like to make additional comment for those who may have not been participating in the workshop regarding your item?
Yes, so this item is it was crafted by the village attorney and his staff, and it was it includes in the resolution a lot of whereas clauses that explain the relationship between Miami Shores Village and those who are landlords who are members of the sewer district that we have established. And these this program basically says that those tenants of the landlords that are participants may take up to 2 years worth of credit on their sewer maintenance if they will right now, hopefully, offer rent concessions that means forgiveness of rent to their tenants at this time for relief in these extraordinary times. And so the ordinance is carefully crafted so that there will be ways to make sure that the rent relief is actually given, as well as to know that if there was ill intent, that they can be punished under the law of Miami Shores. And that is the essence of it.
And by the way, Madam Mayor, you all might want to take a look at code sections 1-13 and 15-7, which are code provisions that criminalize violations and false statements made in connection with applications.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions from the council? Okay, well, I'd like to thank Vice Mayor Birch for putting this forward. Again, this is this is part, you're being part of the solution, and hopefully people will take advantage of this program and pass that along to their tenants in order to provide some relief for our businesses. I appreciate that. It's good. So there being no other comments, do we have a motion?
Well, I would like to move that we approve the program
The
as
resolution.
written.
As
Resolution as written.
As written. Do I have a second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
I can have a roll call vote.
Go ahead.
Councilman Lafredo,
Remember, I recused myself from this issue.
that's correct, I'm sorry. Councilman Brady,
Yes.
Councilman Meltz,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Birch,
Yes.
Mayor Wagger.
Yes.
Motion passes. Next item is village announcements provided by the village manager regarding COVID-19 updates.
Madam Mayor, Council, as you know, we have reopened our park system effective last Wednesday. We would ask our residents to please observe the rules. It was kind of a rocky start there. You must wear a facial covering of some sort if you're inside the park, except if you're doing any kind of strenuous exercising. You must practice social distancing. There's no large groups permitted, no competitive play, and things of that nature. The virus is still with us, so we've still got to be careful with it. The tennis courts are open for single play, as well as our basketball courts. We're allowing 2 people per half court. So please get out and enjoy some fresh air, and those facilities are open. We are at the point where we have to make a decision about our 4th of July fireworks. And I believe that it would be prudent at this time that we cancel them. We had considered in discussions with our rec folks to go ahead with it and somehow block off the country club parking lot. But after what we witnessed in our opening of our parks, we think that is going to be a very difficult proposition. So I'm going to recommend that we cancel this year's 4th of July fireworks, unfortunately. So just wanted to get that out there on the record. And last but not least, I know that we discussed farm share at our last meeting. I heard from Representative Dottie Joseph's office today, and they are working and have made arrangements for us to come up with a date that we are available to do this. In checking our staff roster, Wednesdays are usually better for us. We have more people on at that time. But I'm asking you all if you all do want to participate individually, if there's a date that's better or worse for you, and I will relay that back and we'll get something going. This will be done at the Barry University large parking lot across the street from the charter school. Dr. Michael Allen, president of Barry University, has been gracious enough to allow us to use their parking lot. And our police department's in the process of drawing up the logistics. Understanding, if you saw today, Cooper City had a food giveaway, and there was over 1,000 cars there. So this is a big deal, and there will be a lot of cars in our immediate neighborhood when this happens. So the police and staff will do our best to mitigate these problems as best we can. So again, if there's a specific date day will be better for you, we're at their mercy as to what date. I will try to pinpoint them down, but there's a lot of people handing out food and doing these right now. So if I could get some feedback on that, or if you'd like to call me in the morning, well, however you want to handle it.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Appreciate that. I appreciate that. We'll go into village council comments. We'll start with Councilman Brady tonight. Oh, Vice Mayor Birch. Sorry.
Before we go into, I was trying to get your attention. I was curious to know if on my memo there were the other items on there. The farm share is set aside, but in terms of helping our first responders, at the same time helping our restaurants, I wonder if the council would be in favor of the village spending the amount of money there outlined. We did some very quick math and thought that for $1,000 per lunch, that we could provide lunches for first responders, both police and fire. I was just part of a celebration of that police and fire actually did for the workers at North Shore this past week. And these are very uplifting things for those doing a very difficult job right now. And there have been many municipalities and charitable organizations that have been honoring our local heroes, though. And I thought that maybe this would be something the council would be interested in perhaps taking out of our budget, because I know that we have a little bit of room in our budget. We might want to do those lunches. Benefits the restaurant that signs on to do it. It benefits the first responders. Seems like a win-win to me.
Coming from which, I'm sorry, Vice Mayor Birch, coming from our budget, you're saying the council's budget?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would be in favor of that, but I'm not sure. How does that work? How does that work, Mr. Attorney? This was part of her memo, so how do we then circle back to that?
I don't know that you need council action on it. If there is an apparent consensus, I think Tom can make it happen.
Okay.
Is that right, Tom?
I'm in favor.
$1,000, yes. And
How do we, then here's my question. If we do this, how do we choose who participates to serve the lunch?
Mayor Wager, the concept here is somewhat similar to something that was done for public works workers in the hurricane, for example.
Okay.
So who took the lead on this, I believe, was the Recreation Department. And I did discuss that with the manager, that perhaps the Recreation Department could solicit the vendor for the lunches and work on the logistics of the distribution. So we have the police department and the fire department, and they're all right here. So, Mr. Benton, do I have that about right?
yes, yeah, we can handle the logistics. I guess perhaps maybe the focus might have been 5 lunches. Which 5 establishments were we going to patronize downtown?
And my thought was to offer the opportunity to, and that not every restaurant might want to do it, but that we would offer the opportunity to the various restaurants.
Okay. We'll make it happen.
Okay. Okay. Do we have a consensus on that?
Yeah, that's,
Yes.
Yes. I'm in favor. That's great.
Thank you,
Okay.
Mayor.
Now, Councilman Brady, do you have any closing comments you would like to make?
Yes. Very briefly, I just wanted to very much thank Councilman Lafredo for being like a passionate advocate for our small businesses. And I think that, some people need to understand that, the nature of the sunshine law and how it works, that if you have an idea like that and you want to discuss with council, you have to bring it to council for discussion. And I would in no way want anyone on this council to feel, that anything should be holding them back from bringing what they think are good ideas to discuss with the rest of the council. Thank him very much. And I also wanted to thank the vice mayor for, I think, working with the attorney to come up with something that allows us to do something that hopefully will have a positive impact on maintaining all the progress that's happened in our downtown. And the last thing I just want to say is to, for everyone to keep an eye on your health, take care. And I hope, Councilman Alfredo, I hope everything is fine, that you feel well quickly. And thank you to everyone. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilman Meltz?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I also want to thank Councilman Lafredo and Vice Mayor Birch for taking the lead and doing a lot of work on trying to help our businesses. And to everybody out there who we couldn't help, if money was no object, you all would have everything you wanted. But we have to balance the interest of the village health financially, the residents and the taxpayers who really put everything in our hands to do the right thing. With regard to the people who made public comment on speeding, as somebody said, we don't go back and forth during public comment, but I can assure you that all of us heard you. And although there's other things going on at this time, I think it's not unreasonable to ask Mr. Benton, the village manager, to maybe follow up with the chief, because those of you who haven't participated in our meetings over the last year, please know that all of us are extremely concerned about public safety, speeding, and the effect that it has on both life and property in the village. And we've asked the chief to come in previously to give us an update as to what is being done on speeding enforcement. And I don't think, like I said, it's unreasonable, Mr. Benton, maybe for the next meeting, we can sort of get a report as to what's going on and what intends to happen in the coming weeks. Because even just this afternoon, I have to agree with the residents. I was crossing 103rd Street and people were doing about 70. And maybe there's less cars on the road, but it doesn't particularly matter. People still believe they can speed through our village and it needs to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Lafredo?
Madam Mayor, I just want to thank the council for their patience in listening to these proposals, and also want to thank Vice Mayor Birch for her initiative in bringing forward something that can help the businesses. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I would like to start by commending staff for when we opened the parks and folks went out and they wanted to enjoy some fresh air. I know staff worked very hard, Park and Recs, etc., to make sure everybody was engaged in proper social distancing methods and had their mask on. And I would like to let them know how much we appreciate them being out there to try to regulate that as along with our officers who are out there now. I would ask the public that I know we're all getting antsy and I know we all want to get out and get fresh air and get back to our beautiful parks, but I would also ask everyone to enjoy the fresh air responsibly and respectfully towards one another and respectfully towards those who are out just trying to make sure our community is safe as a whole. So I know we want to get out, but I would encourage everyone to be responsible and respectful when you do try to venture into our parks. I do think you're safer at home until we have further information, but if you do need to get out, please be responsible. I'd also like to thank Councilman Lafredo for opening the door to these discussions. I do appreciate the sentiment, and I do appreciate the research that you did to look into how we could help our local business. Very important, and I know it's near and dear to you. And that is not lost on anyone. And I'd like to thank Vice Mayor Birch for her time in finding a solution that could work for our business owners. And lastly, I also wanted to say, in the manager's memo, staff took the time to outline various loan opportunities that are available to small businesses. There are several here that I hadn't even found myself. So if there are business owners out there listening, we have several opportunities here for you that are maybe outside of things you've thought of in the first place. And Travis Kendall here is waiting to help. Please pick up the phone and call him. He's been working hard to make sure that he gets the information that he needs to be available to help you. So if you feel like you want some help, he's here and available, and he can even talk you through maybe some of the other opportunities that are out there that you hadn't thought of. And I'd like to thank him. I appreciate him taking the time to put that information together as well. That's all. Yes, I'm sorry, Mr. Attorney.
I'm sorry, I don't usually do this, but I wanted to take the opportunity to note the recent passing of Mr. Don Shula, an incredibly important figure in South Florida culture, and to offer our thoughts and prayers to his family and friends. It's just an amazing thing.
Yes, and as a former resident of Miami Shores, it's important that we acknowledge his passing. I was going to get to that at my conclusions, but you're right. Incredibly important member of our community, locally and at large. So thank you, Attorney Serafin. With that, I have nothing further. Does anyone else have any further comments? Okay. There being no more further business before the council, this concludes our meeting, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for coming out, and thank you for your patience. Thank you.